I was listening to the story about, it was the story of a family in Washington, and the little boy called the Bigfoot the Cowboy Man. And he had, apparently it had made an effort to steal this kid. And it hit me. My children were in that playpen behind me with nothing but a mosquito net over them. It could have crept up behind me and taken both of my children, and I wouldn't have known.
Father just got like a Mustang or something from Wyoming, okay? He had it out in the corral because he couldn't put it in the barn in the stalls with the other horses. It would kick and made all the other horses nervous. Had a Seminole Indian working the horse, trying to break it every day. So they had it out in the corral. This skunk ape snuck up behind this horse and grabbed it on its hindquarters.
I was listening to the story about, it was the story of a family in Washington, and the little boy called the Bigfoot the Cowboy Man. And he had, apparently it had made an effort to steal this kid. And it hit me. My children were in that playpen behind me with nothing but a mosquito net over them. It could have crept up behind me and taken both of my children, and I wouldn't have known.
Father just got like a Mustang or something from Wyoming, okay? He had it out in the corral because he couldn't put it in the barn in the stalls with the other horses. It would kick and made all the other horses nervous. Had a Seminole Indian working the horse, trying to break it every day. So they had it out in the corral. This skunk ape snuck up behind this horse and grabbed it on its hindquarters. This particular horse kicks out, jumps over the corral, runs into the pasture, to get away. At this point, the rancher's out there just blasted away with the dirty. The skunk ape runs into the swamp.
I went up there one day after that, or 2 days after that. I went up there and sat in the silence up there, and I'm telling you, man, it was free. It was crazy. There was a crazy vibe up there still. I did what I could to kind of get things under control, but I told her, I said, you need to get off this property. I feel like no matter how strong you are, it's almost like standing in the ocean. You can't stand still without moving your feet. You're going to get knocked over eventually, no matter how strong, whatever. You can't withstand a barrage of weird spiritual energy.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Paranormal Odyssey. I'm your host, Wayne, joined as always by my partner in crime, Miss Tiffany. How you doing, ma'am?
I'm doing very well, sir. How about you?
Doing just excellent, fabulous, excited about tonight's show. Got a really cool guy backstage, Mr. Rockin' Randy, a former professional wrestler turned everything. Really interesting guy, sitting backstage getting ready to go, but y'all know how it works. We got a few things to cover first, so let's just go ahead and get into that. Guys, if you are new to the show and you haven't done so already, please hit that subscribe button. We would love to have you also become a member, but first hit that subscribe button, tell your family, tell your friends, all that good stuff.
And if you would like to be a guest with me and Wayne, you can reach out to him, Wayne at paranormalworldproductions.com, or myself, Tiffany at Paranormal World Productions. We are scheduling shows for April, so just keep that in mind because we are filling up quickly.
I want to ask everybody to head over to paranormalworldproductions.com. Check out our website, all the other shows under the studio's umbrella: Sasquatch Odyssey, Paranormal Odyssey, True Crime Odyssey, That Bigfoot Podcast, Basement Hangout, Kentucky X-Files. There's about 7 of them, I think. But yeah, check all those other shows out and pick you up some merch. We would appreciate it.
And if you have any questions for tonight's guest, please put them in all capital letters, and we will highlight them and set them off to the side, and we will get to them. I promise. Just put them all in capital letters, please.
And again, guys, excuse me, we still have the membership going, the giveaway that we're doing. We are about halfway there, I think. Need about 25 more people to sign up to be a member for $1.99 a month. We will take a name from those 50. It's actually going to be like only 45 that we draw from. But the winner, the person we draw, will win a Yeti lunchbox, an autographed copy of Naomi Finn's book, and a Paranormal Odyssey t-shirt. So if you are not a member, what are you waiting on? It's 199 pennies. You're killing me. All right. What else you got, man?
Oh my gosh, I'm super excited. Wayne, I had a full-blown panic attack today. I did. Like, you can ask Mr. Tiffany. It was awful because I'm so excited. And your body doesn't know the difference between anxiety and excitement. And so I was like this big jumble of, oh my God. And I'll show you why.
Okay.
I will show you why I'm so excited, because I have a feeling that other people are going to be excited too when we announce that we are officially going to be at the Smoky Mountain Bigfoot Conference in Gatlinburg, Tennessee.
Yes, we are.
Official.
Yeah, we will be hanging out at the, I don't know if it's considered the Paranormal World Productions booth or the Sasquatch Odyssey booth or whatever, but Mr. Brian will be there as well. Tiffany, Tiffany, and myself will be hanging out at a cabin. We reserved that. Well, y'all reserved that yesterday. So we are official. We will be there and hope that you guys can come out and hang out with us.
It's so exciting. We haven't been anywhere.
Y'all have never been to it, have you?
We haven't. I haven't been to the Smoky Mountain since I was 12. And I'll be 44 soon.
Well, I mean, I just live like an hour and a half from there, so it's not that big a deal for me. I go every year, a couple times a year, several years. But yeah, you're like 4.5 hours away, so it's a little bit harder for you. So I'm sure that you are excited.
Yes, I'm so excited. So excited.
I am too. Y'all found a really cool cabin out there, and it's secluded, which is very different. If you ever stayed up there in a cabin, you know, most of them are right on top of each other. You have privacy because you're in your own cabin, but the next cabin is 20 feet away from you. This one is set on 5 acres, so it is secluded. So we might have a Bigfoot experience.
Yes. Well, and I read in the description that they constantly have rabbits. They constantly have groundhogs. Wild turkeys roam that property daily. I mean, there's a food source. And it's, when you're sitting on the deck, you're looking out into pasture and trees. So,
well, I mean, it's the Great Smoky Mountains. There's all kind of reports of them out there. There's plenty of shelter, water, food. So we could have a sighting. It would be cool.
I'm excited. I'm such a dork, but I'm so excited.
All right, we got Mr. Troy hanging out with us tonight. What's up, buddy? Mr. Tiffany, Super Shayna 81. Thank you very much for hanging out. Prospecting USA. Thank you. Some people from Facebook. I'm sorry I can't see your names. But Alex Smith, or Alex, I shouldn't say Smith, that's a football player. Alex S. I don't know if your last name's Smith or not. But thanks for hanging out. The Walk. Thank you very much. All right. Are you ready to get to our guest? It's almost 10:10.
Yes, because he is so funny. He had me like howling with laughter.
He is a very, very interesting guy, an ex-professional wrestler. I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about that. We have some wrestling fans that watch. He's had several Bigfoot encounters. He currently lives in Las Vegas, from Tennessee, I believe. But Rockin' Randy is backstage, and we're going to bring him out. Randy, how's it going, buddy?
Oh, Tiffany, you got me so excited. I'm going to snap into a Slim Jim there. Oh, yeah.
Oh, you made me snort.
Oh yeah, she's snorting. Oh yeah, can't help her. No Slim Jim for her.
Oh my gosh. And
Got her
I'm like,
snort.
I sound so awful when I laugh, Wayne. This is going to be so fun come edit time.
Hey,
You got
that's
you.
what the world's about. Everybody laughing, having a good time. And guys, Tiffany, you got me excited. I'm not even close to you guys. I want to come and hang out with you guys in the cabin.
Yes. Oh
There's
my
extra
gosh,
You
room,
know?
man. Come on.
Randy.
Oh,
There's a deck and it is 8 foot around. It's completely wrapped around this cabin. And I think half of it's covered and half of it's uncovered. There's a pool table, there's a grill. It's going to be summer, and we're going the day after my birthday. I'm just
well,
saying.
see, everybody needs to go and see you guys at this event. Bring Tiffany
Yeah,
a little something for her birthday. Little Bigfoot statues and cakes and cupcakes, and even bring a Slim Jim if you got one, because the Bigfoot's on the Slim Jim. But I think, guys, I'm excited. If I can make it, I'm going to try to come there for that.
Oh, that would
very
be
cool.
awesome.
Very cool.
And
All right. Randy, as we were saying, are you from Tennessee, buddy?
no, actually, I'm from New York. I have family that lives in Tennessee, and my last encounter I had was in 2017 in Tennessee, and it was enough to make me leave Tennessee. But no, seriously, when I get to that part, you're going to see why. But my encounter started out when I was like 5, 6 years old, and
Okay.
I was living in Syracuse, New York, and my aunt lived in Cincinnatus, which is right outside of Cortland, New York, and she had a 100-acre farm, and you get on the horse and ride through the fields, and they would deer hunt there, and it was deer season and stuff, and it was just beautiful. It was woods and cornfields and cows all over. And I used to take my little Palomino and I'd ride it down the trail. And I always asked my aunt, it was like these rocks, flat rocks stacked up, maybe about 3 foot tall. And it was like a fence all the way down. And it ended at like this little creek. Well, I found this little creek to have like tadpoles and pollywogs. And I'm like, I'm getting me some of these. Well, I went back and I got me a little coffee can, one of them old Folgers coffee cans, whatever it was. And I went down and I've rode my horse through there several times, and I always smelled a smell like something dead, something dirty. And I'm like, but I never, you're in the woods. I'm a kid. Who knows, So one time I gathered up all my little pollywogs and stuff, and I put them in there. And my dad had this supersonic whistle, that type of thing, And when you heard that, you better be on your way home.
Exactly.
So exactly. I forgot my pollywogs and my tadpoles in this can, and the lid was on. Well, I said to my mom, I says, they're going to die if I don't get no air to them. She goes, you can get them tomorrow, whatever, So we spent the night. I went back down the next day, and again, I was there. I didn't smell anything, but the lid was off my container. Everything I had in it was poured out, and there was a rock inside. And I'm like, well, who took my pollywogs and stuff out here and left me a rock? Well, I got some more pollywogs and I put them in there. And about that time, I smelled that smell again. And for almost a year, I would hear noises in the woods, but as a kid, I didn't know what they were. Come to find out, that area has a lot of Bigfoot in it. And I didn't realize that till after I was like maybe 10, 11 years old. I used to play box lacrosse at the Onondaga Indian Reservation. And at the top of their totem pole, down from the eagle head, there was a Bigfoot head. And I said, what is that? And they told me what it was, and did you ever see it? And we would talk about it because I was kind of interested. It was kind of like a monkey man they had cut out on, and it really, it was cool to see. But I was the only white guy, they called me white legs when I used to play box lacrosse. And I was the only little white kid there. Everybody else were, Indians and stuff. And I says, what is it? And they said, that's a Bigfoot. And we started talking about it. And I said, I told them my story about what happened to me, and they just kind of laughed and giggled. And I said, I smelt this smell, and they're like, okay. And again, they laughed and jiggled, Well, over the years, we'd go to Tennessee a lot, and my grandparents lived in Waverly, Tennessee, right down next to Loretta Lynn, and their house was, one of those tin house, aluminum siding with a tin roof on it. And we were never allowed to get off the porch and go play in the woods or run the yard or anything, because of snakes and the snap. But at night there was a bedroom. In the middle of the room, there was a feather bed on each side. There was a window, and it was probably 4 or 5 feet off the ground. And then there was a dirt driveway and a bunch of logs. And we were always told, do not go near the logs because you'll get snake bit. And there was a persimmon tree on the other side. Well, one night I heard this something. I'm like, I gotta look. Well, I slipped out of that bed. I went up to the window and I looked over as far as I could. And I'm not kidding you, I've measured it since then, because I've been, like I said, it was down there in 2017. It's only 15, 20 feet apart. There stood Bigfoot on the other side of those logs, looking back at me.
Wow.
And I'm like, you're a kid, and you're like, whoa, this is a big gorilla. I don't know what this thing is. Now, the wood was piled up about 4 to 5 feet tall, because me standing out, I couldn't see over it. But from the window, I could see over it. He stood another 5 to 6 feet. And it's really weird what I'm about to tell you, but it was like, it's kind of scary. It was like he was talking to me, not with, hey, how you doing? But it was like he was reading my mind. I'm like, who are you? What are you? What is this? And he kept telling me, stay away from the wood pile. It's dangerous. Stay away from, he didn't say the word dangerous. It was like, just stay away from the wood pile. Just stay away from the wood pile. And I'm like, but I like those persimmons. And I wasn't talking. Well, at least it was almost like a dream. And I remember seeing this. And the next morning, I got up and I told my grandparents and my mom and dad, they're going, you were dreaming. No, you were dreaming. I said, this thing told me to stay away from the wood pile. Well, Grandpa tells you that all the time. I reached down. I was playing ball with my brother, and I got bit in the top of the head by a rattlesnake. And they took me to one of those mountain doctors there in Tennessee, and they took care of me. I was sick for a while. But after that, I would smell that smell every night we were there. And I would look out that window, and he would be there picking those persimmons off that tree. And I kept saying, there's a big monkey in the yard. There's a big monkey in the yard. And so, right after that happened, my parents no more. We didn't stay there. We stayed at a hotel over by Loretta Lynn's. And I kept saying, why are we staying here? There's a pool. You'll like it better, yada, yada, yada. Well, as I got older, I was 14, 15 years old. My grandfather was, he was over 102 years old when he passed away. But I go down there and sit with him in the summertime by myself. I would fly down. And I asked my grandfather one time, I said, hey, Grandpa, I says, what was that big monkey that was in the yard? I says, we were never allowed to get off the porch because you would hear this thing yell at night. It would sound like a woman screaming. And he's, oh, that's a black panther that escaped from the zoo. I said, that panther's got to be older than me. I said, he's got to be dead by now. He says, I'm going to tell you the truth. That's the hairy man. I said, wow. Okay, now we got to talk about the hairy man. And he says, do you remember when you were little? He said, Grandma would go out and she would take chickens and snap their necks and put them on the well. And that was Bigfoot's way of her letting them know, thank you for watching over us, but not bothering us. And this went on for 2 months every summer. And my grandfather would take me up the road, and because they sat down in this little holler to the junkyard, and he would fix all these bicycles and stuff for the poor people and sell them to them, for 50 cents, whatever. He had a lot of money and stuff. He always had this little brown vial and had a little cork in it. And he would take little pieces of meat and he would just take and shake, tip it on there and set it down around. I said, Grandpa, what was that about? I said, you told me it was to keep the bears away. He said, no, that was just in case the hairy man wanted to bother us. He would take a bite of that or eat that, and he'd go to night time. He would go to sleep, and we could get away if we had to. And I'm like, wow, okay. Now, this is what sparked my interest. And I started thinking about when I was a kid with my coffee can, smelling the same smell I smelled in New York in Tennessee. And it's kind of weird because both smells had the same smell. It had a stinky, musty, like if you went to a picnic area and people dumped their baby diapers and their food in there and it was just, in the heat and that's what it smelled like. It was nasty. It was really, I can't explain it to you how dirty it was.
Yeah, Randy, I was going to ask you, you just said you couldn't explain it, but I was going to ask you to try to, because I'm a Bigfoot guy. As you know, I founded my organization in 2019. We go out on expeditions. I was in the land between the lakes in Kentucky just a couple of weeks ago with my buddy Troy. Yes. The only thing other than a daytime sighting, the only other really thing that you associate with the Bigfoot encounter that I have not experienced is the smell. Everyone talks about how putrid, how terrible it is. I want to smell it. I want to know what that smells like. So if you can't, I understand, but if you can talk a little bit more about the smell, I would appreciate it.
Have you ever been to a picnic area where a lot of people have put their trash and it hasn't been dumped?
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
Okay. Add that to like dirty diapers, like a shitty smell, a poop smell type of thing. With that, okay. That's what it smells like. And once you smell that, you'll never forget that. It's a smell that, people say, oh, it smells like a swamp. No, I've smelled the swamp monster down in Florida when I lived in Florida. I've seen him. I smelled him. For some reason, there's two different smells between the swamp monster and a Bigfoot. The Bigfoot, like I said, smelled to me. Only thing I say is when I was working for the city of Chicago one time, I used to have to dump garbage cans, and that I smelled like it smells like Bigfoot, and that's what I associated it with. And it really does stink. It's a smell that you can smell a distance away, and believe me, if you smell that, it's like the hairs in your nose will almost burn. That's how bad you're like, man, what is that? It's like, did you ever gut a deer?
Yeah, I've been around people that have gutted a deer. Yeah, I know that smell.
Okay, it's 10 times worse than that.
Yeah, I went over. I didn't talk about the poll question tonight, so I'll bring that up right now. I asked about. I just made it simple: is Bigfoot violent? And I wish I would have made it this. I might do it on our next show. I was gonna ask, do you think? And I'm asking you this now, Randy. Do you think that the smell is like a defense mechanism? Do you think they can control that like some gorillas can? Or do you think it just is always with them?
I just think it's always with them because I've never, until 2017, I've never had a Bigfoot, come after me or chase me or anything like that. Like I said, I've seen this one. I've seen him in Clay, New York. He actually knocked us down as we were running past us. He could have took us all on. I'll tell you the story in a minute, but I know that smell is just from him. I think it's more to warn other animals because when they're in the woods, nothing chirps. Everything goes quiet. I've noticed that crickets won't even crick, won't chirp. Mm-hmm. Owls, nothing, everything comes to a standstill, like a storm. Woods gets quiet. I would be hunting in the woods when I was like 15, 16 years old, and I would see trees upside down with the roots sticking up like teepees. And I'm like, what fool did this? And I would smell that smell, and then I would get like things thrown at me. And I'm like, where's it? Is that dropping out of a tree? Is some squirrel up there dropping nuts on me or what? And there weren't nothing to hurt me. And, I would shoot a squirrel or two and I'd put it in my backpack. And I always felt like I was being watched. And sometimes I would smell that smell. And when I went to play lacrosse, I asked the Indians about it. I said, they said, we'll ask the chief. And so we went in and we talked. I sat in one of them huts like they have, adobe huts, they call them. And I told them what happened to me, like I'm telling you. And this is, Randy, he doesn't want to hurt you. They don't want to hurt you. For some reason, you're like an intermediate to them. They don't fear you and you don't fear them. You're not trying to hurt them. But Bigfoot to the Indians, they're the guardians of the woods. So when you're out there killing deer and stuff, you're taking their food supply out. And I truly believe that's why they get mean. Because people without guns, they really don't bother, from what I understand. People with guns that are killing things, I think that's when they get really offensive. Like people fishing, that fish is part of their diet. Deer, um, whatever, rabbits, whatever it's around. So, the Indians would get mad, at the white settlers for killing stuff in the buffalo. I believe they're the same way. They're the guardians of the woods.
I think it's really cool that you just brought up the fish thing, because that's a theory that I have. I feel like fish is a huge part of their diet.
Yes.
I think that they eat both meat and, like, I guess, vegetables like berries and like greens and stuff. That's just my opinion, but I believe fish is a big part, because I've talked to people that have witnessed them out fishing before. How many fish are there out there? There's plenty of fish,
Yeah.
and you talk about how much protein an 8 foot tall, 6, 7, 800 pound animal, how much protein you would need. I mean, there's plenty of fish out there.
Well, something I think I've noticed when I was in Florida, when I was by the Okeechobee Lake and stuff like that, I would see piles of clamshells.
Huh.
Now, and that's where I saw the swamp, swamp Bigfoot, swamp monster, whatever you want to call him, and raccoons and stuff like that. They'll eat and stroll, but they won't put things in a pile. And I truly believe they eat, the mussels, the clams, because you can find this in the crayfish that are close to the water. And, I believe the fish and stuff like that are part of their main diet. I've met moonshiners who said that they love the corn, the grain that they use to make moonshine. They'll, for Bigfoot to snag a bag of, their grain is nothing, and they'll leave a bag out for them, so you'll leave the moonshine alone. And I've met hunters.
Have you heard that story, Randy? Have you heard that story? I've heard it somewhere. I don't know if it was Sasquatch Chronicles or what, where the moonshiners came across the drunk Bigfoot, like it got into their batch and just got.
No, I never heard of that.
It was pretty funny. I mean, I don't know how much I believe it, but because there's tons of stories out there. But I mean, I don't know why not, because moonshiners, they're out in the middle of freaking nowhere in Bigfoot country doing that shit.
Amen. You ever watch the Appalachian moonshiners there? Outlaw, whatever they are there. They talk about how they're out there looking for ginseng and run across Bigfoot. Yep. And the moonshiners are just stealing ginseng, and they ran into Bigfoot. So, I can see one drunk.
That would be hilarious. A 9-foot Bigfoot stumbling around. Yeah.
So what do you call a 9-foot drunk Bigfoot? A big feet? I don't know. A big drunk, yeah. But I mean, I think a lot of the woods, especially streams and stuff, people see them, they're drinking water, and like I said, if you see things that don't normally look right in the woods, I would say almost 9 out of 10 times there's a Bigfoot there. Because I've been in the woods, I've been hunting, and like I said, I've seen the trees upside down. I've been up on waterways fishing in the South, and see these clam shells piled up or mussel shells piled up, and you're like, animals don't do that. And if you look around, there ain't no footprints or boot prints of people except for mine at the time, because the water runs in and out. And even like where it's rocks and stuff, they're just like kind of piled up. And so I like I said, I truly believe fishes is one of their main diets. But if not, deer and stuff like that, yeah.
Yeah, and something else that just popped into my head while you were talking, Randy, is I've heard several encounters, and I've talked to people that have experienced this, like deer hunters that had killed a deer, went down, field dressed it. When you field dress a deer, you leave the gut pile laying right there.
Yes.
And scavengers usually come and get it. If you go back in a couple of days, usually coyotes have gotten to it, and it's just a mess, a bloody mess. There's blood everywhere, or they were eating this stuff. But I've heard people that have killed a deer, gutted it, that came back to that area, and the whole gut pile be gone. Like, not split out, like just something picked it up and walked away with it.
Well, this is getting ahead of my story at the end, but I'm going to go right where you're talking about the deer. I'm in Waverly, Tennessee, down, and I won't tell you exactly where it's at because everybody will flood the place. But anybody who will like the information, I'm going to go do a search because I know where they're sitting in Tennessee. Believe me when I tell you this. My two cousins and I were sitting at the house, and it's so dark out there, you can't see your hand in front of you. And I went and bought one of those solar lights, at Walmart, and I put it outside so I could see going from the car to the house. And we were sitting out there, and my one cousin, he was saying he saw Bigfoot down the road. And my other cousin's like, I've been in the woods. Hell, man, I ain't saying shit. Blah, 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 blah. You're all crazy. I'm telling you. Grandpa told me about the hairy man here. And see, their sister and my aunt, who lived at the house we were at, they had a chicken one time sitting in the sink with the window open, and the hairy man stuck his arm in it, took the chicken out of the sink right there in front of him. Just reached in and took it. Yeah, and just walked off. But getting back to the deer thing, we were sitting there talking about it. So my one cousin, Eddie, goes, he does Bigfoot better than anybody I ever known of. He does that woo, type of thing. And about 2-3 minutes later, it called back. And my cousin goes, that's a mockingbird, you dumb damn, blah, blah. And I says, I ain't never heard no mockingbird go woo like he did.
And it's a 900-pound mockingbird.
That's a big bird.
Man. And I'm going, boy, look at the time. I think we need to go inside. So we went in the house, and every night we sit out there and smoke because we really couldn't smoke in the house. And we would make these calls. And my cousin said, oh, no, that's the screech owl. Oh, that's a mockingbird. Every night he had an excuse. So he got out his thing for hunting. It makes like animals suffering like a rabbit or a deer or, an animal crying like it's been hurt. And for 3 or 4 nights, we played that. And we would hear this, like this yell, like, it was, again, it sounded like a woman screaming, but with a howl to it. And they went deer hunting one night, and they got back about 4 in the afternoon. You know how November, Tennessee starts getting dark quick. They had one of those metal poles, like a U, and they had put the deer up there, and they had gut the deer. They had 2 of them. They got the deer, and it started getting dark. So Ricky said, well, I'm going to go get something to drink. He goes, let me wash up a little bit. He says, and, we'll come back out and we'll turn the headlights of the car on and get that light that I bought to stay on if we can, and we'll gut these deer. So Ricky was getting changed. I was in the bathroom, and Eddie was sitting in the living room. And this house is not a very big house, small 3-bedroom house. Something slapped the side of that house where that light was so hard that the glasses in the sink rattled, like fell into the sink.
Damn.
Wow.
Boom, boom. And my cousin jumps up and goes, what in the what is that, Mama? It scared me. I mean, I peed all over my shoes. I mean, I was like, whoa, it sounded like a car hit the house. And they run out with their guns. Now, you got to picture this. We're on a porch, and maybe 25 feet is a old wooden barn, garage barn, and my cousin had his 76 Chevy pickup truck, the old tall Chevy pickup trucks. It picked up both deer off that pole under each arm, walked behind the garage on the other side of the truck. Now, the roof of the truck, they're tall. They're about 7-8 foot tall off the ground. He was another 2 foot taller than the truck.
Damn.
He walked past the truck. As he walked past the truck, they started shooting. Pow, 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 pow. It sounded like a world war out there. And it went down the slope to this dry creek and straight up this hill. Like I can't, it was like here and gone. A matter of 2-3 seconds, it was at the top of this hill. I mean, just gone. With 2 big deer, 2 big bucks underneath its arms. And
Dang.
we went out there. I said, you guys had to hit this thing. I mean, unless you're really bad shots and you shot these deer by luck. We went out there with a flashlight. We could see where the ground had, the grass and the gravel had moved, but no footprints. And you could see where the leaves and stuff had been ruffled down. And we yelled and shined the lights, and we didn't see anything. The next morning, the man who lived in my grandfather's house next to my cousin's house came and said, "What in the world you boys shooting at last night? Something banged on my house, hit my house, and tried to steal my dogs." He had coon dogs in there, hunting dogs. And he said, "I turned on the light," and he goes, "It was gone." And then he said, "All of a sudden, I heard you guys shooting." Well, we told him the story we told you. And he even said, "It was that damn hairy man trying to get my dogs, because you boys been up here making all the noises with that hunting squealer, making all the animals, herd animal sounds." So to see Bigfoot, in my eyes, I think what scared him while he hit the house was that light came on when he stepped in front of it. Because the neighbor said when he turned his light on, it whatever was out there disappeared. And he went 50 yards to where we were at. He saw those deer or smelt those deer, and that light came on. And I think he went to bust that light. He slapped the side of that house, and the light didn't go off. And he grabbed those deer, and up the hill they went. So, yeah.
Well, and that takes a lot of strength because deer are like super heavy, and then you figure 2 of them, and he just picks them up and goes.
He had them under each arm like we would carry 2 loaves of bread. I mean, he walked by like dun, 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 past that truck, and as soon as he got past the front of the truck, I mean, and he started down the hill. My cousins, I mean, pow, 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 pow. I mean, they were unloading them rifles, and it was like we didn't see any blood except for deer blood, from where he dragged it. You know what I'm saying? And when he got to the ground where he went up the hill, there was no blood at all. I mean, no blood at all. And so Bigfoot, yeah, he's into deer meat, he's into hogs, he's into dogs. Anything he can catch or get, he's going to eat. That's my theory on it. People can laugh at me if they want to, but I got ahead of my story after I was telling you about. I was like 5 or 6 years old at that same house in Tennessee, and across the dirt road, my aunt had a little, looked like the Clampetts' house. Then they had a big old cornfield with a barn. And the barn doors were the ones that slid open like this, from inside out.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And my biggest thing, I like to ride the big mule. And, that was, I'd run down and crap, "Are you done?" He put me on that mule, and I'd ride that sweaty mule, and my mother would have a fit. One night it started lightning outside. And my grandpa says, you can't ride the mule because lightning will strike a hot animal. It'll strike it. So we're walking behind it. And as we're walking down this cornfield, because they just plowed up the ground, this thing was standing at the barn door, shaking the top of the barn.
Oh, hell.
I mean, shaking the barn. And my grandfather says he hit the mule, and the mule went one way, and we went the other way. He grabbed me by my arm. We ran across that cornfield. My feet were dragging, flying in the air like a cartoon, across that road into the house. Now, the house had one of them screen doors on it that had that wire that ran across, the wooden door with a screen, had that board across, and that wire it would run across. And it was slam, ba-chink. We ran in the house, and my grandfather said, "Hairy man's here." And that was the first time I really did hear that word, but I paid no attention to it. My 2 uncles and my grandfather grabbed the shotguns. My grandfather had a 12-gauge Stevens shotgun. Bigfoot came to the house. Now, I don't know if he came after us because he thought my grandfather was hurting me or doing something to me. To this day, I couldn't tell because, like they said, he was always watching over us when we were little playing down there. That's what they told us as I got older. But it ripped the door off, the screen off the door, off the hinges. And my grandfather and my 2 uncles shot Bigfoot in the chest through the doorway inside the living room. I remember not hearing for 2 days. Bow, 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 bow. He was so tall, when he stepped up on the porch, it was like 1.5 feet on the porch, you couldn't even see his head. It's all you could see was his chest. And he ripped that door off, and you see them huge arms and hands. When they shot him, like I said, it was thundering and lightning outside. He blew backwards and fell on the ground. And my grandfather said, "Put the kids over there, take them to the room," because they had a back door on the other side. And they ran out there with flashlights, He was gone. I saw this thing get shot in the chest at least 4 to 5 times.
With a
I
shotgun.
mean, with a shotgun, dead in the chest. Boom, 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 boom. I mean, he covered the door. That's how large he was. It was like lunar eclipse over that doorway. You could not see out that door no more. And he fell off that porch backwards, and they grabbed the flashlights. In a matter of 30 seconds, maybe a minute to find flashlights, they went outside, and we were looking out the window, and they were like this. He was gone. No blood, no footprint, no nothing. Gone. Like he just dissolved in the midair.
Yeah, Troy's asking, and I was wondering the exact same thing. Are we talking bird shot, turkey shot, or slug, or what?
Slugs. My grandfather always carried slugs in his rifle, in the shotguns. He had 12 gauge Stevens with those slugs in it. And now I know they always carry slugs because I shot those guns all the time during the daytime down there. And rarely did they ever use bird shot, because they didn't really hunt a lot. It was squirrel, rabbit, stuff like that, and deer and wild boar and stuff like that. So, I can't really ever remember seeing buckshot in any of their guns. But I know when it hit him.
I'm sorry, this has been an area topic for not this show, but the other show that I do, that Bigfoot podcast here recently. People talking about not wanting to pull the trigger on a Bigfoot because they don't feel confident that what they have is enough to take it down. But I got an email that I shared on the latest episode of that Bigfoot podcast, be out tomorrow, where the gentleman emails me and talks about how powerful a 30-06 is, and that a 30-06 should be able to take just about anything down, taking bull elephants and stuff down, and rhinos and stuff. But I don't know where I stand on that, Randy. But you're talking about this person, your family, shooting this thing with slugs and it not even leaving a blood trail and running off. What are these things made of for that to happen?
You know something, and I'll never forget this, and I tell the story all the time. It's like when it hit it, it just backed it up, and it was like it fell off the porch when it stepped off the porch, because those porches, they're off the ground just a little bit, one step. They put that little brick there so you can step up on. When he fell off, I mean, I was looking out a window probably 5 feet from where, after they had shot him, because a door, window, in the room. He fell off of there, and I'll never forget this. I turned my head, and I'm going, it's out there, it's out there. And they went out. I mean, they were less than a minute with a flashlight, and he was gone. And I remember the next morning, we went out there, and, first thing I'm looking for, I want to see blood. I want to see, did you guys kill this? And like I said, it was thundering and lightning. It rained that night. So I don't think it would have washed away all that blood, but it was never seen or ever found again. I mean, it was just like it vaporized.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been cool to have gotten a blood sample.
Yeah. And like my grandfather said, what he would tell me is, when you shoot evil, evil leaves and doesn't leave a trace.
Wow. And Randy, you talked about how this thing, it was like a lunar eclipse of the doorway, the way it just filled it. I mean, most accounts that you hear, and I've said this a few times, you hear around 8 foot tall and 4 foot wide at the shoulders. Right. That's a freaking sheet of plywood.
Yes.
Imagine a sheet of plywood standing in front of you.
Well, you know how big a regular door is, right? What's a door? 8 foot tall. Okay. For me not to see a head, but just chest and, a clip of an arm. And when it ripped that door off, I'm not saying it pulled it in the hinge. I mean, it ripped the door off. I mean, matter of fact, the door, he slung the door about 25 feet away from the house. And that kind of scared me. And that's another reason why we didn't stay there after that. We stayed in a hotel because, like I said, I told my parents, this thing was I get up and look out the window, and everybody was like, no, 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 you're dreaming. You know, you didn't see this and that. And, you know, I know what I saw. And like I told my grandpa, I says, that thing that you guys shot, that was no bear, because I said it was a bear. And I said, what was that thing that was shaking that barn that night? And he goes, you remember that? I go, yeah. I said, I still have dreams about that. I said, it scared me to death. And he says, it was a hairy man. And he says, you know, they're everywhere. He says, that, you know, that yelling you hear, that's not a panther. He goes, that's they call it the hairy man. That's the hairy man yelling. And believe it or not, I've heard tree knocks. And my wife, who played up and down them woods in Tennessee, she's from Tennessee. She ain't never seen or heard or smelled a Bigfoot.
Hmm.
You know, and she played in the woods and wander off, you know, and do her thing and never ever seen one. A lot of people don't see them. Again, I think Bigfoot is more enthused by kids. I think he's more enthusiastic, you know, by watching people. Unless you're trying to herd him and or you know hunting down his food source, you know, they're more interested in us than we are them. You know, because as a kid, if he was that close, why didn't he just come in that window and get me?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? When I'm out there playing, and like, we had to play close to that we had to stay in that driveway or on that little porch area. You know, he could have got me at any time. And I truly believe when people say they couldn't shoot him, you ever heard the word glamour? A vampire would glamour his, you know, Dracula would glamour his victim. You
I've
ever heard
never
that saying?
Uh-uh.
They said Count Dracula, he glamored her, you know, and he kind of puts you like in a daze and makes him do as he wants. I truly
Okay.
believe I truly believe that Bigfoot has that power. I truly do believe that because when I seen him, you know, several times, you know, eating those persimmons, and he would look at me, it was like I could hear him talk, and I wasn't saying a word. It was like he could tell what was on my mind. And it's kind of weird, and people think you're a kid, you're dreaming, but no, I'm not dreaming. You know, you don't forget something like that. Especially when he told me to stay away from that wood pile. It was like he was telling me I was going to get hurt. And all your grandparents told you. I'm telling you what this thing told me. Stay away from that wood pile.
Yeah.
You know, it's weird. It's kind of scary. And, you know, that's what really got me interested in Bigfoot when I was like 15, 16 years old. Like I said, I went hunting and I seen all these signs and I asked the Indian tribals about it. And they said, Randy, you're like an intermediate to them. You don't fear them. They don't fear you. And for some reason, you know, it's like a stray dog will run up on somebody and just kind of like them. He says, you
Yeah.
have that with all them. And I had a man from California who does a Bigfoot research. He called me on the phone and he says, can I do whatever he does? And he says, you know, you have a thing with Bigfoot. He says that they trust you. He goes, you're like, you can talk to them. I said, well, I'm no Dr. Doolittle. He goes, I get that out of you when I'm talking to you on the phone. He says he goes in the woods and no gun and talks to Bigfoot. I'm like, okay, you know, whatever floats your boat. But he's an Indian and he gives thanks to Bigfoot. He says he's talked to Bigfoot. It's not words. It's like, you know, mental telepathy type of thing. And that's the second or third time I've heard that. So I think that's why people can't shoot him. I think he talks them out of it.
I mean, that's always a
Yeah, I mean, some people call it mind speak.
They call it what?
Like mind speak. And I didn't mean to interrupt you, Tiffany. Go ahead.
It's okay. No, I mean, I had already said it, that it was a possibility that they could do that. I mean, there's so many strange things that happen alongside of Sasquatch. It's not just, I don't know. It's my opinion. But there's so many crazy things that go on. It's hard to say.
Well, at that same little holler I'm telling you about, when I was there in 2017, I was up at Loretta Lynn's ranch, and I was singing at her clubhouse, whatever you want to call it. And they had one of the guys that plays the drum said he was hunting, going down there to hunt down that road from where my cousin lives. It goes down to comes to a dead end. You got to go left or right. And he said he saw a ball of light. And my wife told me the same thing. She has seen that ball of light. It'll like follow your car for so far, or it'll run up and down the mountain. He said he saw that ball of light, and as he walked in the woods to see what that ball of light was, that ball of light turned from a ball of light to a Bigfoot standing there at the top of the hill.
Damn.
Yeah,
And I said,
we actually have a gentleman in our chat, Squatch and Holler, has a story. I think it was him. We talked to a lot of people, but it was like, or no, it was Bobby Dizzle. Has a story about that. So I've heard that.
well,
too.
you know, and I've been watching, you know, I do a lot of study of Bigfoot because I want to prove to people that it is for real. That's the only reason I'm telling my stories. You know what I'm saying? I was kind of afraid. 2017, I did a Bigfoot syndicated radio. It was the first time I ever talked about it because I didn't want people to think I was a crazy person, you know, or I took too many wrestling hits that I had too many chairs, whatever, you know. And yeah, seriously. And I mean, to talk about it, I mean, look at me. I mean, you know, my arm, I got goosebumps from just talking about it because just to go back in time to see that it's kind of scary, you know.
Oh yeah.
Right.
I had an event when I was in Clay, New York, with my cousin and my brother-in-law. They had just cut this corn down that we used to ride these four-wheelers. Well, actually, the three-wheelers at the time around this cornfield. We'd race, and there was tons of deer out there. So we set some salt licks out there. And we said, well, I'm going to go out there tonight with a little flashlight. You know, it's against the law to go jacking deer, and I'm not admitting to this. But, you know, it's on private property. And during the daytime, you know, you would see them run by and put salt licks out there. So it was just turning dusk, and we started walking down. Now, you got to imagine, there's three of us, and we were split up like this, and we're walking down this cornfield, one to the right, one to the left, and me in the middle. And we're walking down. So if something jumps up, it's going to run between us, and boom, we're going to get it. You know what I'm saying? At the other end of this cornfield is a wooded, swampy area. We start walking and we get all the way down to the end of this cornfield, to those woods. No salt lick, no deer, no nothing. It was dead silence. So we're standing there, and, you know, guys will stand around and got your gun down. And I'll be honest with you, I had my 357. I had my shotgun, and I carried a old black powder pistol. I used to carry me all the time. I loved it. And my cousin and my brother had shotguns. We're standing down there. I'm lighting up a cigarette, and we're just standing. You know how guys do in a kind of a huddle. And all of a sudden, we hear woof, 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 like footprints. You know, something stomping the ground. And we kind of like turned and look, you know, looking around. It ran between us and knocked us down. Two went one way, one went the other way. And it ran into that wooded, swampy area. Now, if Bigfoot wanted to hurt us, he could have took all three of us out at that time. As he ran past us, the smell, well, those footprints got stronger and stronger and stronger. He knocked us down and went into the wooded area. And let me tell you something. You could hear psh, psh, water splashing. We let go. We were firing. Boom, 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 boom. Everything I had, I let go and trying to reload as quick as I could. We come to a halt. We're shining our lights in there, and out come a tree about the size of a what do you call it? A telephone pole. Come flinging out of there like he would throw a twig. And it was about 18, 19 feet long, and come flying out like someone's throwing a straw. And then it began to yell. And when I tell you it yelled, it went through my front and out my back. We started backing up, and another log come flying. And then another tree come flying. And my cousin goes, we didn't hit it. And so we're kind of like seeing where these logs are. We shot again. Emptied again. At the same time, we're backing up. My brother-in-law Sam went and got his hunting dog, brought the dog down. He's going to get him. The dog ran back to the house underneath the porch. And we went back the next morning, and you could see where all our shells and things had landed on the ground, and the trees that were laying in the cornfield. The footprints, and, you know, and I was stupid at the time. We didn't, you know, take any tracks or pictures because we actually didn't really have cell phones at that time either. And this was back in the 80s. But the footprints, I could put both. My foot's a size 8. Both of my feet could fit inside the footprint.
Wow.
That's how large the footprints were. Never did hit it. Never went back there and said, "Look at the time. I'm never coming back here again." And that's a true story. Knocked the 3 of us down. Now, if he was a vicious killer, he could have killed all 3 of us, and there's nothing we could have done about it.
Yeah.
Nothing we could have done about it. It was like he was telling us, "No, this is not what you can do." And let me tell you something. When he ran past us, my cousin Denny started puking. He was gagging because the smell was so bad.
Mm.
That's how bad the smell was. And he goes, he was boom, boom, shoot, blah. He's puking. I'm like, "Dude, what is wrong with you?" He goes, and it stunk bad. But, again, the smell was bad. And again, like I said, he could have took all 3 of us out at one time. With no, fast as he can run, there's nothing we could have done.
Yeah, I believe it. Randy, we're coming up on the hour now. We're gonna get to some questions, if that's all right. We can try to get about 6 or 7 of them. We'll try to fly through them real quick. First off, before we get there, Super Shania 81 became a member tonight. Thank you very much, ma'am. We appreciate it.
Yeah. That's so cool.
Very, very much. Thank you, ma'am. Look forward to having you. Next one, my buddy Troy asks, when we were talking earlier about the smell of a gutted deer, he said, "I've gutted several deer. Would the smell have to be a gut shot or just the regular smell of a deer?"
I would say a gut shot. Worse than a gut shot.
Yeah, I've smelled the gut shot too, and it is much different than a regular.
Yeah, because a regular cut is just that you smell the blood, but that gut shot, you smell the poison, and the food and everything it's in it. Yeah, it's pretty nasty, but it's worse than that.
Okay, another question from Troy. I think we've all heard of a nut cracking station. Would the clamshells be the same type thing? You mentioned the clamshells that you saw.
Some it could be. They could be popping those clamshells. Like I said, again, the one I saw in Okeechobee, he was bending. I was out there fishing. He just walked across the river. I was across the river from me, and he walked out, and he was bending down there, eating something. Bringing it home. I know he wasn't catching no fish. So and I've seen these clamshells piled around that lake before, and like I said, that's game warden walked up on me and he goes, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm just fishing." And I said, "Do you see that?" Because it was there. I turned around and he goes, "See what?" The morning I turned around, it was gone. And he goes, "You need to pack up and get out of here." And I'm like, "Okay." But I've gone back there and fished before. And like I said, it'd be like if people eat clams, like I eat clams when you're putting them in a bucket, you're kind of making a pile. That's why they're piled up.
Yeah.
That's what I've seen several times down in Florida. Now, anywhere else?
I've heard too that they'll pick up the shells and clack them together, almost like a form of communication.
Yeah, I've heard rocks banging in the woods, like a
rock clapping.
Rock clapping.
Yeah.
But I have learned when you hear tree knocks, what I understand now, because I've talked to some of the older Indians and stuff like that, and people on reservations, and the guy from California. When you hear a tree knock, these guys go on to hit 1, 2, 3, whatever, or hit one time. Bigfoot will, what I understand, he will pop back for how many he's trying to talk. If it's 3 knocks, there's 3 of them in the woods. If it's 2 knocks, there's only 2 of them in the woods. If it's a single knock, there's only 1 of them in the woods.
That's interesting.
And I thought it was kind of interesting because I've heard other people saying, we heard knock here and a knock here and a knock here, and it's if there's more than one, you'll hear more than one knock.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, so
Squatch and Holler here. He asked what part of Tennessee, but you talked about Waverly, right? That's where
Waverly, Tennessee.
Okay, and he followed that up with, is that where the Buffalo River runs through?
Yeah, Buffalo. It's a little up farther from the Buffalo River. It's right on the. It's almost in town of Waverly. I mean, it's off of Highway 13. So they really want to know where it's at. I mean, I could tell. If everybody wants to know, I'll put it out on the air. But if you guys want to keep it a secret and you want to go do your own investigation, they can get a hold of you, or you can have them get a hold of me, and I can tell them exactly where it's at.
Yeah, let me know off air, Randy, if you want to.
Okay. Yeah, sure. That's cool. I'll put it this
Okay.
way: it's on Highway 13 between Waverly, Tennessee, and Buffalo, Tennessee, where Loretta Lynn lives.
Okay. All right. Got a question from Alex S. What's the opinion on Bigfoot's red eyes, indicating it's mean or an angry Bigfoot?
Every time I've seen Bigfoot, he's had red eyes.
Wow. Okay.
They almost look like reflectors on a bicycle. That's the way I can put it to you. As a kid, seeing them out the window and seeing them that night in 2017, they look like bicycle reflectors. About that big around too, about like you see on the back of a bicycle. Yes, red. I've never seen any other colored eyes on them.
Now, were they self-illuminated or was there like light shining?
They're glowing.
Okay.
You'll shine it. You shine lights on a alligator and they'll glow. They have that green glow. His eyes are not like that. It's red. It's almost like you're looking at. It looks like two reflectors sitting out there about 8 inches to 10 to 18 inches wide. Believe me, you see one, you'll know what I'm talking about because they're red. It's like you're looking in the eyes of Satan.
Damn. Yeah, I've heard that many, many times. This isn't the first time. Man, that's really, really good stuff, Randy. We're here at the hour. I appreciate the hell out of you coming and hanging out with us, buddy. If there's anything that you want to promote, any websites or your radio station or anything like that you want people to check out, now's your time to do that.
I have a radio station. It's WROK FM Worldwide Internet Radio. If anybody's interested, you can go to my Facebook, which is Randy Stewart. You'll see the double R's up there. Just click on the double R's. It'll take you right to the station. I play all genres of music. Country, rock, oldies, gospel. I play a little of everything. And starting next month, I'm going to start doing from 8 to 10. I don't know if you guys have heard of, I'm promoting another show here, but Cryptic Studies Institution is friends of mine. Elijah Henderson and Sister Gabriel, they do live investigations. And
I know
they're going to be on my show.
Elijah's been on a couple of times with me. He's right there, Cryptid Studies Institute, doing great, Randy. Yeah, I know Elijah.
He's a really good friend of mine. I go on his shows with him. I've aired some shows with him. And if you go online and hear a little more than what I told you guys tonight about the Waverly, it's big Monster in Waverly, Tennessee is what it's called. And this is more of the story. I've had other encounters with Bigfoot, but on Friday night, I'm going to do that. And you guys are more than welcome also, right here, you, Tiffany and Wayne, you guys are more than welcome to, if you want something to put up on my radio station, just come out and listen. This month is just Route 66. It's all about Route 66. I've got some cryptic studies about Route 66 that people don't know about: murders, Bigfoot, dragon men, lizard men that have been seen on Route 66.
That's awesome.
Very cool. Yeah, and Randy, like I said, I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about some stuff that maybe we can work on together. But thank you very much for coming.
No, thank you guys.
It was a great show, man. That hour,
I enjoyed it.
Hey, before you go, Randy, you have to do an impression for me. You have to do Edith Bunker.
All right, I'll do Edith and Archie for you. Oh my goodness, Archie, what are you doing down there? Oh my God! Oh, Archie! Oh, Edith, would you be quiet? I'm working here. Go get me a beer. You think bad?
Thanks, Randy. I appreciate it, buddy.
Hey guys, thank you for so much for having me on the air. I appreciate it. I love the time. And to all your viewers out there and listeners, these guys are aces. Great show. I'm going to follow you guys even more now. And God bless each and every one of you out here in the Bigfoot community. And when someone tells you Bigfoot's not real, well, tell them until they see one, they can't say it's not. And for the non-believers, you better start believing because thousands and thousands of people are seeing them. And like I said, people might think you're crazy, but if you don't tell your story, nobody learns.
That's right. Very
Correct.
good, buddy. I appreciate it.
All right, guys. God bless you all. Thank you.
Have a good night. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye-bye.
He's
Good
so
stuff.
fun. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, he's so fun.
That was fun.
So fun.
All right. I mean, I'm speechless. I don't know where to go from there. So if you got anything you want to talk about, go ahead.
Yeah, I am going to be on with Glenn Jackson tomorrow on the Paranormal Guys, 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern. And again, don't forget, we will absolutely be at the Smoky Mountain, Tennessee Bigfoot Con representing Paranormal Odyssey. And yeah, thank you for coming in tonight. And the chat was crazy. I was doing the chat in here. I was trying to follow along on Facebook. My phone was going off. So yeah, thank you so much for all your support.
Yeah, awesome job in the chat tonight, guys. Lots of questions, several comments. We added a new member. We've added a new member each of the last two shows.
Yeah.
So that is awesome. The poll question, we had 18 people vote. 56% say no. Bigfoot is not violent. 56 no, 44 yes. So take that for however you want. All right, guys, let's get out of here. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out with us on another edition of Paranormal Odyssey Live. We will see you next time. Y'all be good to yourselves. Be good to each other. Bye.